Hey guys, welcome back to the Astro Girl channel. Since the last time I recorded a video, a lot has changed. As you can tell, I cut micro bangs, I dyed my roots purple, and I shaved off my eyebrows. I was having a manic episode. Oh, I also pierced my ears. So there's that. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different video. If you're new here, I usually deep dive into certain topics or make commentary videos. So today we're going to be doing a get ready with me while I tell you the story of my endometriosis journey. I'm going to kind of introduce the topic of endometriosis with like information and facts for people who don't know what they are. If you want to just skip all of the info because you know all about it, I'll put the timestamp here so you can just skip straight to the story and the good stuff. I wanted to make a video about this to spread awareness to, I guess, everyone, if you have it or not. If you have or you suspect that you have endometriosis, this video might help you not feel so alone and hopefully be validating to you. And if you don't have it, maybe learning about it can help you have more empathy to those who do have it or suspect that they have it, so you can be there for them when they need it the most. I know that when I was 18, I wished I had a creator to look up to who was going through the same thing that I was, so I want to be that for somebody else here. So without further ado, we are going to get started. I just got this mirror at Target like 30 minutes ago, so we're going to try this out, but first we're going to pin my hair back. I'm going to talk about what it is. So for those of you who don't know what endometriosis is, it is a chronic illness that affects typically the uterus and the ovaries, but can also spread to other parts of your body. It's usually paired with a lot of pain, especially around your period, and it can affect fertility. It's often recognized as a very painful condition. So endometriosis is when your uterus, your uterine lining, attaches itself to other parts of your body. So your uterus can create scar tissue out of endometrial tissue and attach it to your bladder, to your bowels, to pretty much anything in the surrounding area. When I had my first surgery, it was discovered I had 27 lesions. So all around, it can be a lot. The stages don't necessarily mean how much it hurts, because you can have stage 1 and it can be very severe, like pain-wise, or you could have stage 4 and pretty much feel no pain at all. Stage 1 is very minimal, superficial implants, so they don't go very deep, and they're very surface level, and there's just a few of them. Stage 2 is mild. There's more implants, and they might be a little bit deeper of an implant. Stage 3 is moderate, so there's quite a few deep implants, small cysts on one or both ovaries, and presence of a filmy adhesion. I don't really know what that part means. And stage 4 is severe with many deep implants, large cysts on one or both ovaries, and many dense adhesions. And that is according to the American Society of Reproductive Medicine. So what causes it? Well, unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of studies done on the cause, but it's kind of been known to be hereditary, so it kind of gets passed down between family members. I have a few family members who have it before me, including my mother and my great aunt. It's also important to be said that you can also have it with no family history at all. You could be the first one to ever have it because of the lack of diagnoses. Again, due to the lack of the research behind all of this, there aren't a lot of answers for the causes or prevention or cures. So it's kind of a mystery illness in some ways, even though it shouldn't be, because it's actually more common than you'd think. Alright, so what are the symptoms? Well, possible symptoms will include pelvic pain, infertility, painful menstrual cramps that may get worse over time, pain during or after sex, pain in the intestine or lower abdomen, pain with bowel movements or urination, usually during your period, heavy periods, spotting or bleeding between periods, digestive or gastrointestinal issues, and fatigue or lack of energy. So how is it diagnosed? Well, typically doctors will start with imaging tests such as Rio. Do you have to do that right now? CT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds are the most common. Oh, I forgot to put on concealer. Let me do that first. It's very common that they order these tests before they go in for a surgery, and surgery is the only way to fully get a diagnosis. Surgery is unfortunately the only way to get a real diagnosis even if doctors can suspect that you may have it. And lastly, we're going to talk about what are the treatments. Well, treatments include hormone therapy, pain relievers. For some people that works, but for more severe cases, it's usually surgery such as laparoscopies, where they take a small tube that's got a camera and a light and they make small incisions in your abdomen and they go in and they look around. That's how they diagnose it as well. So if they are going in to diagnose and they see it, usually they just go ahead and get rid of it right then and there, as long as that's what you had agreed to, you know? In the most extreme cases though, hysterectomies may be kind of medically necessary to kind of get rid of the problem. It's usually not thought about until your later years, your 40s, but it can happen in your 20s as well, which is kind of what I'm hoping for. Okay, so now that all of the information and the facts are out of the way, I want to tell my story because it's a doozy, okay? So go ahead and grab a snack, get some water so we can stay hydrated, and let's talk about it. So I started noticing symptoms around 18 years old. I was having really heavy periods that did not feel normal, and I kept bringing up to my family, who very much were like, no, that's normal, that's how my periods were, or whatever. And I took that answer for a while, and I even had mentioned it to doctors, and doctors had said the same thing of that's just your period. There's no of course period cramps are gonna hurt. And you know, for a while, I was gaslit into believing, okay, I guess it's normal. So I didn't press the issue for a while. Well, at 19, when things had just gotten worse over the last year, as endometriosis tends to do, I finally went to a gynecologist and was kind of confronting them about it, saying, hey, I really think that this might be something that I have. Can we do some tests? Can we figure out if there is a way that we can treat this problem, because it is affecting my quality of life? And before this doctor's appointment, I spent hours on online forums and researching endometriosis online and anyone I could find on the internet, or watching videos to try to figure out I needed to have some answers. I needed to have something to latch onto. I was getting so desperate, I needed to know why. So eventually I get to this doctor, brought up my concern, and she tells me that I'm too young to have endometriosis. Doesn't order a scan, doesn't order blood work, doesn't do anything. This is at 19. So now I'm even more frustrated than when I started, because when I started, at least I could shrug off the pain. It wasn't so bad, but I knew it was, different than what my pain had been before. But now I'm 19, it's gotten worse since being 18. And at this point, my quality of life is plummeting because I'm hurting more than I'm not. Doing simple tasks have become way more tedious than they used to. Even using the restroom, bending over, showering, doing the things that just to take care of myself, going to the grocery store and just walking around, going to my job, they all became so much harder than they used to be when I was younger, before this issue started to really take off. And no one seemed to give a single fucking shit. My family brushed it off and said, no, I don't think you have that. And then my doctors were saying the same thing, that I was too young and there's no way. Okay, fast forward to 20 years old. Now, I'm living in North Carolina, working for a solar company, and I'm still having these problems that have gotten worse. So, I finally find a gynecologist who kinda listens, I guess. I schedule an appointment with her. I go in to see her. Oops. I tell her, the same thing that I've been telling all these other doctors. And she orders an ultrasound, which was the first time that anybody had ordered anything. So I was already okay, maybe we're going somewhere. I was super excited. I mean, who wouldn't be? I'm finally getting somewhere with my diagnosis, because I was sick of hearing, no, everything came back normal. Because it's obviously not normal. Anyway, she orders this ultrasound. I don't like that shade. I don't think we're gonna do that. Can I wipe that off? Rio, can we not do this right now? Guess I have a cat in my lap. Where was I? Yeah, so she orders an ultrasound, and I was like, okay, cool, awesome. And then she tells me that we should try a new birth control. And that's what all of the doctors prior, I forgot to put this in, all of the doctors prior to this were just telling me to get on birth control and it would fix all my problems. So I had tried, by this point, 20 years old, probably, I'm gonna say 7 to 10 birth controls, which is a lot. I had been on birth control since I was 16 years old, and none of them had actually fixed any of my symptoms. It didn't make my periods go away, it didn't do anything. Well, then she tells me, okay, let's try the Nexplanon implant, which is the one that they put in your arm. I still have it. I actually need to get it removed. She tells me that I won't have periods anymore. Well, fuck yeah. On the day of the ultrasound, I go in and the technician asked if I wanted it to be like projected onto the wall so I can watch what she's doing as she's doing it. I'm watching her take the notes. I'm watching her do her whatever. Got a wand in me, you know. Women know what I'm talking about. Well, I see her write in her notes, large cysts found in, like, something like that. I can't exactly remember, this was years ago. But I remember seeing her say something about cysts were found. Now this is news to me because no one had ever ordered any sort of test before. And so seeing that, I was like, okay, an answer. Maybe it's not endometriosis, but maybe it's PCOS because that came up in my research, which, great. I just want a diagnosis at this point. Then the doctor comes in to assist with the contrast because she'd said, oh, it's going to be an ultrasound with a contrast. I've had contrast before when they do like CT scans or whatever. Sometimes they'll put an IV in your arm and give you a contrast. Nothing new to me. So I agree. Sure, we'll do a contrast. Well, before this doctor, like when this doctor was walking in with her, like all of her paperwork and the contrast and all of that, she brings in a student. Someone like who's studying to be, I think, a nurse or a doctor or something. And so he was there taking notes, an internship of sorts, I guess. And she asked like if it was okay that he was there, and I was like, yeah, I don't mind at all. When I agreed to this, I did not know what was about to happen to me. Okay? And I need you to buckle in because if you're queasy or you don't like, if you can feel things when someone says something medical, trigger warning right here, okay? Because my blood just ran cold just thinking about what happened to me, okay? Listen. This doctor says, okay, we're gonna do the contrast, and explains to me that she is going to stick a needle in my cervix. You know the fucking thing in your uterus that has like a bajillion nerve endings or whatever? Oh my, bitch, my blood ran cold. And it felt too late to say no at this point. My legs are open. I have 3 people down there. She's like, okay, we're gonna do the contrast so that you're gonna feel a slight pinch. When I tell you I like levitated off of the table like an exorcism was happening in that room, and I just like, I groan in pain, and I look over in the corner to see this student. His face is pale white, seeing what's going on. No one else had any reaction at all. I was not well at all. That hurt so terribly bad, but I was in it for the result. I'm like, okay, well, like that hurt, but if I can get a diagnosis, if I can get results, totally worth the pain. So the follow-up comes, and I go to the follow-up. Well, at this follow-up appointment, believe it or not, I don't have endometriosis, and she says that for a fact. She says that I have adenomyosis, I think that's how you say it, and PCOS. So more answers than before, and then I press on and I'm like, okay, well, what are the treatments for that? And she tells me the only treatment that she wants to give me is that birth control implant we talked about before. Okay, fine. I will go into credit card debt, pay $1,700 to put this birth control implant in my arm if it means it will actually prevent my symptoms or stop it from getting worse or just provide any relief at all. Sure, I will max out my credit card for that. Well, hey, guess what? I wouldn't be making this video if it worked, So, fast forward, I don't know, 9 or 10 months later after this diagnosis, I have the implant in my arm. I have now moved to bumfuck Indiana, still with the solar company. One day, I fully collapse at my job because I was in so much pain. One of my supervisors was very concerned and, pretty much begged me to go to a hospital, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's expensive. Take me home if you want to take me somewhere. So he drives me 15-20 minutes, and the whole time I'm just bent over, doubled over in his passenger seat work truck. He's taking me home. And when I get there, I crawl up the stairs of the RV that I'm living in and crawl into bed, and I'm sobbing, and I'm just on my phone researching local gynecological experts, specialists, endometriosis. What is it called? Endometriosis specialist. That's what I'm looking for. So I find one. And he's 2 hours away. And then I see on the website that he doesn't take insurance, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to be paying out of pocket for all this. How much is this gonna be? Because there's no prices listed. And so I'm in so much pain that I just say, you know what, I will do it anyway. I forgot to contour my nose. So I, still crying in my bed, call this doctor, and I speak to the receptionist, and she hears my terrible cries of pain, and she is very concerned for me, obviously, and she says that she wants to get me in as soon as possible to see Dr. Mack, my savior, okay? So she can't get me in for like, I think a couple months, so I think I go in October. Finally, October comes around. It's a 2-hour drive away. I make the trip all the way there by myself, and I go in, see the doctor, and he's an angel. Within the first 10 minutes of being there, he does an exam, like a physical exam, and tells me he really suspects endometriosis. He told me that my uterus was fixed. Like, you know how it's supposed to be like a little malleable, like you can move it? That wasn't going on. So he ordered an ultrasound, in-house ultrasound right then and there, and was like, okay, you're gonna go to the ultrasound room, they're gonna do some tests, and then we'll meet back in my office and we'll talk about treatment options. I was like, oh. So I'm like already tearing up because I'm like, I've waited for this for years. No one has listened. So I'm crying, and he sees that and he says, you're not crazy. You are not, like, he just keeps reassuring me that I'm not crazy. And so I cry more because I'm like, thank God I'm not crazy, because that's what everyone was telling me. So he gives me a big ol' hug and he tells me that, you know, we're gonna fix it and we're gonna work it out. I go into the ultrasound room and I'm shaking in fear because of my last ultrasound experience. If you'll recall, the needle in the cervix problem that I had a year or so prior. I get in there and I you know, take my clothes off, put on the gown, and the technician comes in. She, you know, we exchange our niceties, and I ask her with a shaky breath if she is going to put a needle in my cervix, and she almost fell out of her chair. She was like, why would I do that? That sounds terrible. And so I just kind of gave her a brief explanation of like, well, that's what they did at my last ultrasound. And she was like, I would never do that to you. That sounds terrible. And so I just laid back and just cried even more tears of relief, because at this point I'm like, am I dreaming? Because this is like the dream visit that I've always wanted. People listening to me and caring about the way that I feel. Because that had not been the case at any of the other doctor's appointments that I had been to. This makeup is not doing well, and you know what, that's okay. I'll try to fix it by the end. So she does her exam and she's like, wow, it looks like you've got some pretty big cysts. And she like points the screen at me, and she's even pointing out, like, you see these little dots on the screen, those look like possible adenomyosis and endometriosis lesions is what they're called. So I was like, okay, awesome. And she takes all of her pictures, leaves the room, and tells me to, you know, sit out in the hallway to wait for Dr. Mack to come back. And then when he calls me back into his office, he's like, I really suspect that you have endometriosis. I want to get you into surgery, like, as soon as possible. And I was like, holy shit, that's insane. So then he explained to me, like, the only way that you can diagnose it fully is through surgery, and when you go through that surgery, they also, if they do see it, they'll just cut it out while they're already in there. So we make the appointment for December, like right before Christmas. I'm gonna do purple eyebrows to match my hair. I feel like I had another, oh, here's my other purple, hold on. December rolls around, and it's time for my surgery, so I go and I do the surgery. This is December of 2022. Everything goes well, and he says I shouldn't have any problems anymore. And obviously, I cried again, because finally, I won't have to deal with this anymore. I've dealt with it all of my adult life. June of that next year, 2023, I move to Orlando, Florida from Indiana. And things are fine for a while, but slowly, as the months go by, my pain starts to feel worse again. So about like, well, it's probably September, October, or November. I know that's a big jump, but I cannot remember because life right then was very chaotic. So by 2024, I'm hurting again. I obviously cannot see my old Indiana doctor because I'm living in Florida. Believe me, I tried. I called my insurance company in Florida begging to let me see him, and they said no. So I find another endometriosis specialist in Orlando. So I go to this new guy in Florida, and he does an exam, and I'm sobbing on the table. He notices that I'm crying, and he says, what's wrong? And I'm through tears saying, it hurts really bad. And he just says, oh, and walks out of the room. Definitely not my favorite doctor, but he felt like my only option based on the insurance that I had, blah, 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 blah. You know how insurance goes. I get another appointment with him, still begging him for anything to feel better. Oh, also, he's another one of those doctors that's like, well, have you tried birth control? Duh. And then he keeps bringing up, oh, well, the birth control that's in your arm needs to come out, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know, but I'm not really worried about that right now. I'm more worried about the constant pain that I'm in, you know? So he finally obliges and says that we can do a surgery, even though he does not seem like he wants to at all. So July of 2024, I have another surgery, the same surgery as before, laparoscopy. I feel like this is not giving. It's fine. So when I wake up from this surgery, I am very direct with this doctor and I say, did you get rid of my cysts? Because the last doctor did while he was in there. Like, he even took pictures and he told me how many lesions that he saw and everything. This doctor didn't want to talk to me about those things. He was like, well, you know, cysts are natural during your cycle, blah, 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 blah. They come and they go, blah, 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 blah. That wasn't my question. I feel defeated at this point, but whatever. Maybe this time it'll stick. It doesn't. So, as of January 2026, I am still hurting. In fact, last month was one of the worst months I've ever had. I had 3 periods within 1 month. I bled 7 days, 3 different times in the month of December. So what do I do now? Well, if I'm being honest with you, I don't know. I've tried the surgeries. I've tried hormone therapy. I've tried the other thing that doctors like to say, have you tried ibuprofen? Duh, that was my first choice. So, at this point in time, I don't really know what I'd like to do. Getting one of these laparoscopies done every 1.5 years is really hard on my body. Getting a hysterectomy has its own problems. It's hard on my body, it's hard on my... I mean, I'm not even 25 yet, so my body's not even technically fully developed. It's not healthy to put my body under that kind of stress if it's not super medically necessary. And asking a doctor before you're 25 for a hysterectomy brings on a load of other issues because they want to say, and it's kind of stupid considering it's not my fucking fiance's body, you know? Shouldn't matter what the fuck he thinks. If he loves me, he'll stay. So right now I am waiting for insurance to start with my job, which won't be until I think the end of January. Hold on, I gotta lock in to do these bottom eyeliner. So yeah, my next goal is to find a doctor who will listen to me and respect my body and respect my choices, which for some reason is a very difficult feat here in America. But once I find a doctor that my insurance will cover and that they will listen, I'll be going through the same process as before of, hey, this is what I'm going through. Here's 2 surgeries that I've gone through that were unsuccessful. Can we try something new? Is there some new thing that I don't know about? The answer's probably fucking no. But I digress. I think I mostly wanted to make this video to, 1, vent, because this is a very frustrating situation to be in that affects my everyday life, and I know that it affects other women every single day. And I want to put in a little note here that if I miss a week of putting a video out or something of that nature, have some empathy and realize that it's probably due to this problem of mine, because it is a difficult illness to cope with. Some days it is hard to get out of bed. Other days I can walk around doing my normal duties just fine. And that's what's frustrating, is it's a very invisible illness. Because again, people use that excuse of, oh, you're too young. You don't look sick. You don't have to look sick to be sick. I don't even feel like my makeup is even, but you know what? I don't care. So I bring all of this up to say, if you're going through something similar, be patient with yourself, first of all, and also realize that I empathize with you, and my comment section is always a place that you can be venting and discussing these kinds of things, because I get it. I've been through it. I'm still going through it, and I probably always will until I go through menopause, or until they let me get rid of my uterus. Let me add some fake lashes real quick. You're strong, and you're brave, and you're beautiful, because hot girls have tummy problems and or endometriosis and or PCOS, adenomyosis. All of those problems fall into the same category as tummy problems in my book. Don't give up. I know that there are really hard days that you're like, fuck. But life is worth living. Allow yourself space to rest. Surround yourself with people who have empathy, first of all. I hope this video brought you some sort of peace, some sort of validation. And if you aren't going through this, but you know someone who is, have some empathy. Be there for them. Listen to them. You don't have to understand their pain, but you should listen to them and believe them when they say that something's wrong. I just ripped the fuck out of these, so I can't even use these. Those are now trash. Garbage. That's fun. So I guess this is the look then. Let me put my glasses on so I can read. I hope this video brought you some peace, or some laughter, or, I don't know, added to your life in some positive way. I don't know. I know it helped me a lot. If you're not going through this, but you know someone that does, please, the least you could do is believe them when they say that there's something wrong. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to hurt. Nobody wants to feel sick. Nobody wants to feel disabled in some way. It's not likely that they're doing it for attention. They're probably doing it because something is wrong. They're probably actually hurting and in pain, and they're begging for you, their friend or their family member, to back them up. Remember that it's a hard fight, and it's also not your body, so don't act like it is. Don't give them advice on what they should do with their body. Let them make their own decisions without judgment. And that's really all I have for you guys today. This is the look. It's not really anything special. It's kind of what I do when I just do my makeup. I am breaking out right now because my skin is sensitive as fuck. I don't know. All I did was wash it and put moisturizer on it, and apparently that is wrong. That is frowned upon for my skin, even though that is what I'm supposed to do. So, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, take care of the people that you love, and have a great new year. Peace.